Welcome to EkataCare Training Center. How are you guys? I'm so sorry I didn't have the opportunity to meet you personally, but I just wanted to create this short video so that I can give you a bit of a verbal description of why we do what we do. If you're here, it's because you're interested in our childcare program. And our program is a little bit unique, so I want to take a couple of minutes and just describe this to you. So thank you for bearing with me and just sitting through this video. First off, Ekata's childcare program is really founded in the principles of mindfulness. I'm a professor at UCLA and I specialize in kinesthetic learning as related to brain states. So essentially what that means is how our body ultimately impacts our mind and how our mind impacts our body. And with children, how that affects their attentional states, how they can pay attention, how they can focus, and use positive behavior for social emotional learning. Now, you guys, I'm sure, have all heard this terminology. It's with the schools very important now because we want kids to be conscientious of their behavior, of understanding how to function reasonably within the boundaries of society. So what we do is we really teach kids about how to process their emotions, about how to live in a mindful manner. Now, a huge part of what we do with that has to do with martial arts. It teaches the fundamentals of discipline, respect, and it really teaches those kids, A, to be physical and to care for themselves, but B, to be conscientious of other people, to understand what happens when our emotions begin to rise. And we give them opportunities to do that. So what happens is that we have what's referred to as an emergent curriculum. We have a specific curriculum that's set up with our childcare director, whose name is Ibarra, who I'm sure you've already met. But what's really important to recognize about this is that they learn through the minor conflicts that arise naturally in their interactions. Now, what's really important for you guys to know is that they must go through our training protocol, which means is we're just not a warehouse for kids. We don't just house them and you kind of come and randomly pick them up whenever you're able to. What we have is a specific program for the kids, and I'm going to tell you about that now. Now, all of our kids must participate in martial arts. We teach Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee's martial art. It's often considered to be the first mixed martial art. And we have a very specific program for that. Everything that we do is based in long-term care. Now, we know that it takes a long time to affect change. So we enroll all of our kids for the full academic year. And it doesn't matter where you come in, it means that when you sign on, you're signing on from now until the end of the academic year. That's because it takes time to be able to facilitate change with kids. We want positive behavior and positive health outcomes, and that's not a short-term fix. It's something that we view from a long-term perspective. Now, everything that we do is based on this fundamental principle of using martial arts and movement as a method by which we train the behavioral tendencies of the kids. We want them to understand about nutrition and fitness so that they're going to have to really understand being in good shape. And it's all wrapped in the idea of mindfulness and life skills. Now, we have a specific curriculum that we put them through. This is called School Safe, Street Safe, and Character Training and Development. Now, there's a specific protocol and lesson that's taught every day in class that my instructors get. It's something that I've put together and it's disseminated outward to the kids through the instructors. They have to learn this for their belt rank materials. As they go through, they learn about all the good attributes that we want for our kids. Things like having a good attitude, good habits, self-control, good manners. And this is all laid out as they move through their classes. Now, they have to memorize this material in the form of a book that they receive. So a training manual. This is our second year manual, but you'll get a first year manual. And inside that is all of the information that the kids have to learn. For all their belt ranks, it tells them all about our program, about our history, and we highly encourage you to please go through that with your kids. It's important that you know a little bit of our history, where we come from, and our perspective, because that's what you're buying into when you get into our program. Now, We also have a segment that's called School Safe, Street Safe, and that's about teaching kids to be cautious, to be aware about threats that can potentially come from adults or maybe from other kids, or just being generally aware of their environment and safe. Now, the kids all receive an attendance card, and this gets checked off as they come to their classes. We keep tabs on this electronically and physically. And as they come to those classes, when they get halfway through their card, which is generally going to be about 3 weeks, that's when they come in for what's called a tip test. They'll come in, you'll bring them in, or we will have them come in and they'll test on a Friday. Sometimes it's done during the ASP hours, and sometimes it's done later. But most of the time we try to get it done within the normal times for our ASP kids. And what we do is we test them on the material. They have to know the material that they're moving through with their belt ranks. Halfway is a black tip test. That's a tape stripe that they get around their belt. All the way is called a red tip test. They get a red tape stripe around their belt. That means that they've learned all the material that they need to know for their particular belt level. They come in and they do their tip test on a Friday, and then after they pass, that's not the test where you bring in your whole family. That's a boring test where all we do is that we just take a look at them and we begin to assess whether they've learned the material that they need to know for their belt rank or not. So that's kind of the boring one. Once they've passed that, then they come to what's called the belt award ceremony. The belt award ceremony is where they actually receive their belt. That's the one where you bring your whole family. You bring your family and they come in, you applaud and cheer, and they get to show you what they've learned. It's really an awesome experience for everybody. But we don't want to fail kids in front of the whole family. We will fail them during the tip test. That's the time where they know that they need to toe the line. We hold them responsible for the material, which is why we need buy-in from you. Now, we're going to train them while they're here. We have assistants that come in and help them with their curriculum. We do all of that because we know you're working parents. That's why you have your kids in a childcare program. But we still need you to participate. We need your input. We need you to encourage them to do these things, to sit down with them and go through the book periodically and go, hey, show me, tell me about this. And then for you to also bring them to the testing. That's really important because then you're showing your support for your child, and it means something to them that you actually show up and applaud them for their efforts. Okay, now, the smaller kids have a STAR system that's similar to school. It's incentive-based. And this is all in your book, but there's a list of things that they can do to get their stars. All you need to do is let us know when they do something good. You can tell Adam, you can send us a note, you can write us an email. We want to pass that on to the instructor, and the instructor will stand them up in front of class, say, hey, Tommy helped his sister to do with her homework. What a great job, gold star, fantastic job, high five. And then that's going to make those kids feel good, and it's going to reinforce the positive character attributes that they choose of their own volition. Okay, and again, that's something that we need your help on because you need to let us know about when they're doing things that are good. So we have academic achievement, reading, being a good example setter, community service, all kinds of different things. You can review it in that book. Now, our program is actually set up as a 4-year program. Now, this is a timeline. I know you're not going to be able to see this right now, but our martial arts program is set up to be a black belt program, and a black belt takes between 4 to 5 years to get. And you don't get it just because you pay tuition. You have to know the material. The first year, they focus purely on basics, so they're learning the fundamentals of self-defense and striking techniques. The second year, they learn kickboxing, so they're going to learn a style called savate, which is a French form of kickboxing that carries a separate rank, and they get their belt levels as they move through that as well. Then they transfer to jiu-jitsu. That's ground fighting, like wrestling and throwing, like in judo. They'll learn that during their third year. And then in their fourth and fifth year, it's all prep, and they're putting it all together. So they are learning a mixed martial arts style that's very practical in terms of something that they could actually use if they really needed it. But the whole point is physical and mental self-discipline. Now, this is going to go home with you, and you have to sign off on this before they test. a notice to intent to promote. Now what that is just a sheet that says, yes, they're doing okay at home, and yes, they're doing okay at school. I allow them to come in and do their test. If you tell us no to either one of those questions, then they're not allowed to test. And that starts being important to these little guys. They really want to see themselves make progress. And so that's something that you can really kind of use as a tool to make sure that they're towing the line at home and at school. Now, this is our student creed. The first one, they say this in every single class that they come to. The first one says that I'm going to have a positive attitude and I'm not going to do anything that's bad for my mind or body. The second one says that I'm going to have self-discipline. The third one says that I'm not going to use martial arts to harm anyone or to show off. It's only for use in self-defense. That's a really important part of what we teach them. And these are the fundamental principles that we focus on as we're teaching our character training lessons. Modesty, courtesy, compassion, integrity, perseverance, courage, indomitable spirit. These are all attributes that we universally want our kids to have. And this is our belt system. Now, we'll go through this specifically with you, but everybody starts at white belt. They will receive their uniform when they first come in, and then it's going to take them, on average, 3 months to earn their belts. Halfway point, 6 week, is the 6 week point is where they end up doing their tip tests. So when they'll come in, they'll have little markers along the way, but generally, every 6 weeks, they're going to be having their tip test. And then at the 3 month mark, that's when they'll have their red tip test. I think I may have said 3 weeks earlier, but we do little in-between tests, but those typically don't actually count as a test. So normally what would happen is you would get that notice that they're going to be doing their tip test at the 6 week mark. And then at the 12 week mark, that's when they do their red tip, and that's when they're prepping for their belt test. So I hope all this makes sense. The kids in our normal martial arts program that are not a part of our childcare program sign up for a 12-month period no matter what, because we just don't take students for any less, because martial arts is a full commitment. For our after-school program, what you're committing for is the academic year. And so it's sometimes a lesser commitment than the 12-month period, but we want you to think long-term with this. That's a really important part of this process. So if you're coming in here thinking, well, I just kind of want a place for my kids to go that's safe, I completely understand that and respect it, but this is not your place. What you want, this is a place that you want to come to if you are really committed to making your child the best they can possibly be, because that's what this martial art and our program does for them. It's going to orient them to the principles of mindfulness, being fully present right here, right now, being emotionally whole, and being able to communicate effectively with peers and adults in a way that's responsible and respectful. And that's going to involve you too. So that's the really important part of this, is to just simply recognize that you guys are a big part of this process, and we need your buy-in if you're going to sign on for our program. So I hope that explains everything, and thank you very much for being patient and taking the time to go through this video. And then whoever's with you right now, either Reed or Adam, I'm sure they'll go ahead and move forward and then tell you the rest of what you need to know. All right, thanks, and take care. Sifu Ed here again. Just a note about tuition payments. Let me explain the price structure to you. Now, you are going to be paying on a monthly basis. However, the way that we view the tuition structure is just as we view our enrollments. It's for the academic year. So envision that as one lump sum that is broken into monthly allocations, very much like a car payment. So what you would do is put your down payment down, and then you will pay monthly increments. And we have accounted for all of the time off. So we allow for you to come in on all of the teachers' days off. All of the half days, the full days that teachers take off, those are no additional cost to you, and you receive full care. That's different than most places. Most places you get charged for all of those little bits and pieces. The only time that you have an additional charge is when we have full vacations. So that's going to be fall break, winter break, spring break, and summer camps. Now those summer camps all carry specific costs, and those are not accounted for in the total tuition payment. So what that means is you're just paying your monthly tuition payment, and then you would pay an additional fee if you would like your child to join us for the camp weeks. And we have great camps. So you can learn all about those on our website, and you can speak with either myself, Adam, or read about them. Now, I hope that makes sense and that it is all laid out for you. We'll go through the paperwork with you so you can see the specific amounts based on the services that you'd like to acquire for your children. But that just provides a brief overview of how we look at it. So that way you'll see that those equal monthly installments you can always count on. They never change. So that way that there's never a prorated month or anything like that, because we've already accounted for that time in our total tuition schedule. Okay, so I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.